All right, everyone, welcome to this week's group chat. Here, Anthony Hope with Jacqueline. Jacqueline, how you doing?
I'm good.
Man, busy week, busy week. A lot to catch up on. First, I want to start with last weekend's women's NCAA tournament. Well, let's start with the men. Michigan team I ended up riding with beat UConn. I'm sure you didn't really watch it, so I know we're not going to dig too much into that. But exciting game. Dusty May, Michigan's second year. His second year at Michigan. He went to the Final Four, Florida Atlantic. So a great coach. It was a good game. But my team that I picked, Michigan, came through and won that championship.
Yeah, I was wrong. I was rooting for UConn. I thought they could pull it off.
No, it was a good game. It was a good game, but Michigan just had too much firepower. But let's jump into the women's game. Women's, that tournament's always exciting. The Final Four was exciting. The Final Four game before the championship, I guess, that's where much of the controversy kind of came in with, UConn and South Carolina. South Carolina put on a defensive clinic to upset UConn, who was undefeated. But the theatrics was really after the game with during the timeout with UConn's coach Gino Auriemma, kind of yeah, having a little diva ways or something out there on the court when things weren't really going his way. The timeout, when he was talking on the sideline, I believe it was the Holly, where he was saying his players' jerseys getting ripped and Don's, saying things on the to the refs and this and that. I mean, it was kind of, for a coach who ain't coaching that long, it was, yeah, it wasn't good to see.
You know what? I think that's like one of those things where the student became the master in that game, and I think he couldn't handle that.
Yeah, I mean, Dawn been around a while, so I wouldn't even say student. I think now
Yeah,
I mean, it's showing she's equal, if not, better. And he's been the big dog. He's been the big dog. And you're right. I mean, couldn't take it from that. And then at the end of the game, just coming and just all out of whack to come and approach Dawn that way, to get her revved up too. But to say she didn't shake his hand. But the thing is, if he says that's, in the press conference, he said that's kind of, that's standard for what they do. But then he leaves before the game's over and he doesn't shake UConn's coaches or
right,
Don's hand, the coach's hand, or the player's hand. So, I mean,
right,
isn't that common practice too? So it's like a kind
right.
of a double standard.
And to leave his own team hanging, right? Like they just
Yeah.
lost the game, and you didn't stand in unity with them. At least, even if you don't want to talk to her, you feel like she wronged you. You couldn't stand with your team and say, you know what, look, we take this on the chin, right?
All right. And the other thing is, I mean, the press conference after the game, he continued to double down. Um, and there was a lot of, Dawn left to kind of explain what was going on, or she's asked what's going on, or, and one thing I'm glad about it was, it was former players who were analysts for the game who, called it like it was during that time. And, it didn't get the fact because it could have easily been made to look like Dawn was the aggressor or something like that, which some outlets tried to portray, tried to spin that, but it was no, it got called out right there, right then and there that night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that kind of that was the talk. So you really get to talk about the master class they put on in defense in that game. Is really the talk of all the theatrics after the game, and it
Mhm.
carried over the next few days into the championship game. And then he did issue an apology, but what was you know interesting about the apology is he apologized to South Carolina's coaching staff and the players, but not to Don directly, who he had the interaction with. So, I mean, what do you think about that apology?
Yeah, I feel like he never mentioned her by name when that's who he had beef with, allegedly, right? I feel like that was a slight in itself. And I do hate that in the end, Don still, said, let's leave it behind us. He's a great, and let's leave it at that. And still, she's taking the high road.
Yeah, it's like we always got to take the high road, and especially our women always have to take the high road. I mean, I wish she I can understand, but I wish she didn't. I wouldn't even. Why accept that he didn't apologize to you directly in public? So if he apologized in private, that's one thing. But he called you out in public. You know,
Right.
that apology needs to be in public, just as loud as it was there. So I wish she wouldn't. If she did, I haven't seen it yet, but I wish she wouldn't have accepted that way. I mean, he needs to make a public apology the same way he went on that outburst, in the public. But
Right.
that's just me. That's just me.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a championship game, and I think the team that was able to fly under the radar, which probably was better for them, was UCLA.
Hmm.
All the talk was what happened with UConn and South Carolina, so you forget that it was a team there that has been dominant this season and really only has one loss and avenged that loss when they played Texas, UCLA. So I think a lot of us thought that it was an afterthought that South Carolina was going to put the stamp on it, win that championship, and be a great story after the UConn. But I mean, UCLA has something something to say about that.
Yeah, tell me because I'm not always familiar. How do those two teams stack up? Because I thought it was going to be a stronger game. I thought it was going to be a closer game. So what is that? What do you think that they had that South Carolina couldn't pull off?
I mean, it should have been a closer game, but I think one of the things, and been in a situation before myself, I think when so much energy and emotion goes into like a game before,
Mm.
um, you almost feel like you won, but it's another game and so much emotion, and I think the emotion with the coach and all that, the players are feeling that they're not insulated from what was going on, and they're feeling that they're getting probably getting questions about that and all those things too, and then you get into the game and you come out kind of flat. So I see they came out flat, but the thing is they came out flat against a team that was ready to play.
Hmm.
So a lot of, pretty much probably outside of four other teams, they could have came out flat, maybe still won that game. But UCLA, with five seniors, five, six seniors, it's a veteran team. Was in the Final Four last year. Got blown out. And I think maybe South Carolina beat them the year before. They just came out ready. They came out ready. They had more energy.
Yeah.
They had more, they didn't rattle. I mean, when they came out, they put their foot on the gas and they put the pressure on South Carolina. They played South Carolina's game. They put the pressure on South Carolina, and South Carolina just couldn't catch up. And when South Carolina would make a run, play some defense, again, the shots weren't falling. They couldn't hit shots. I mean, you can't hit shots. A team like that, the way UCLA was playing and the way they were playing with each other, trusted each other. You can just tell they had been together. You can tell they were seniors. You can tell they were on a mission, and
Hmm.
I mean, they spanked them. I mean, they spanked them. But it was yeah. I mean, and it was also you can see where Flo Wiley, a player that South Carolina had last year, this LSU now, you can see where they needed something like that. They didn't have no one who could just go get a shot, who could go make a play when they needed it. Like they didn't have that. It was missing. So when you don't have that against a team like UCLA, who was playing defense, who was fired up, who was hitting on all cylinders, yeah, it would have been a tough night either way. But when you're playing like that, they come like that, that result is getting spanked.
Yeah. And what wasn't my outcome? I was rooting for South Carolina.
Yeah, well, I think one of the good stories too that came from that is Lauren Betts. To be able to be on that platform and then be able to kind of be another voice for mental health. I think that was great for her to be able to, all the challenges she had. She talked about from growing up to early part of her college career,
Hmm.
stuff she had to deal with to be able to, go and check herself in for treatment and get help, and then to now be a NCAA champion and have a microphone on that big stage. I think that was a great story because I think that could be something for a lot of people who are battling, a lot of young girls who are
Hmm.
battling with mental health to be able to, see that you can take, you can go. It's nothing wrong with admitting it and going to get help, and
Yeah.
then look at her outcome, coming out to put the cherry on top, winning that championship, and now she's going to be off to the WNBA. So I think that was a great story.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think women in general, we have a lot of pressure on us, and especially someone like her that feels like she's carrying a team and she wants to continue her own legacy. to admit that you got to take a step back to keep going forward is, that's people need to hear that for sure, especially young women.
And now we on the WNBA. Let's talk. It's been some more news. Angel Reese out of Chicago traded to Atlanta. Whew, Atlanta is jumped. I've been getting texts, phone calls, everything. People are just excited. It's like she set free now to come. And it's gonna be. I mean, it's fun. I think the jerseys already sold out. Price ticket sales skyrocketing, rocketing games are gonna sell out. The city's just buzzing. What's your thoughts on her going to Atlanta?
I'm excited. I'm excited for her to go to a city to feel that love, like genuine, right? And not have to be like as good as she is, she shouldn't be fighting for. She is the most popular player in the league. So she shouldn't be fighting for attention and not that she has to fight for attention, but you know what I'm saying? Like any backlash. Like I'm really excited for her to feel the love in Atlanta. And I'm most excited about the outfits in Atlanta because I know she's gonna come with it. I know, just being in Atlanta and just the people that are going to be around there and just feeling that love, I think we're going to really see her flourish even more than she already has.
I think so too. I mean, it's just a different city, a different vibe than Chicago. Chicago, great city. I just think that organization it's since she's got there, it's just not hasn't been a functional place for. It's been dysfunction there. I know she'll probably never speak on that, but it's just like just from the outside you can see that. But Atlanta, yeah, it's just different energy, different everything. I mean, I think way her brand is and as big as her brand is to be there in that atmosphere. I mean, you couldn't ask for nothing more. I think, yeah. I mean, I'm excited to see. I'll be watching, and I know, like I said, the city's ready because like I said, I got a lot of people who's calling me, man. This and that, this and that. So it's gonna be fun. Gonna be fun to watch. I'm glad she landed there.
Yeah, same. I'm excited. I'm excited to see those games. Might try to catch one when I'm in the city.
Now let's take a shift as we start to wrap this up. We always try to talk, what's going on in politics in our group chat. And, one of the things with Trump that just came out is I guess he's offering or telling his staffers and cabinet and everyone that he will pardon them before he leaves office. Um, I guess it's a way of saying there's been a lot of, maybe not the right thing going on over there, which we all know. But I think it's a lot of panic or something going on right now because there's been a lot of stuff happening this week. We're not going to unpack it all right now, but as we leave here now, I mean, to throw that out there and put that I'll pardon you. I mean, why do they need pardons? I mean, why would a whole cabinet and staff need pardons? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. I think they're finally, which is surprising, just now starting to feel the pressure of the blowback from his own supporters. And I think they could see the writing on the wall that, they've been letting them get away with everything all this time. And I think they see that that could come to an end. And so, you know, this is par for the course for him. He pardoned the January 6ers. Like that wasn't
Right,
those they're criminals,
right.
no question about it. So, people that he knows that are doing dirt for him, specifically, it makes sense that he would, he knows there's something coming. That makes me feel like there's something bigger coming that we don't even know about yet.
There's definitely something coming. I mean, we saw Melania Trump with her press conference trying to separate herself from Epstein, and then Trump went on a big rant after that, going after all his former MAGA supporters, and yes, it's a mess. It's a mess. But yeah, we'll definitely keep our eye on that. But yeah, I don't know. It's just another day, like we said, of something. If we was writing, scripting this out, we would have to throw it away. Now this could never happen. This could never happen. But again, it's happening and continuing, and it seemed like a meltdown going over there. And we'll just keep our eye on. But yeah, never ends, never ends. All right, well, that's this week's group chat. Thank you again, Jack, for joining me this week. Until next week, we're out.